Hey, Okay, then let's start this roundtable of today. That is the final roundtable of 3 days of conversation, discussion, cross-cutting learning between the park, between ISO Technical Committee on Innovation Management, SEN, UNE, Technical Committees, and Mirror Committee. We are coming from different worlds. Let's accept. We are coming from managed innovations. We are thinking of management. Most of the companies in the park are developing technology solutions in different verticals. So the idea of these sessions was to facilitate the conversation between both, what we can solve, problems we can solve for you, what are your needs, understand better, but also for you to explain what are your main obstacles. Maybe we didn't identify quite well, or we have something missed. And this is the idea of this roundtable. And now we have the final events that the idea is, okay, let's talk about some key technologies for the park. In this case, in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, photonics. So the main technologies that are in the portfolio of the park, to identify what are the main obstacles you handled beyond the technology in terms of managed activities, allocated resources, protect the knowledge you are creating, established alliance, this type of thing that are quite critical. So it is if you are managing or not in a structured approach innovations, or identify your needs, try to explain you the value proposition today we can offer you with the standards already published, but also with the work we are developing during these 3 days, that in parallel to the site event and the discussions, we are working on 3 main documents. One of them is on innovation ecosystem management. The other is innovation portfolio management. And also we are reviewing our flagship standard, which is on innovation management system. And okay, it is, we are innovator. Okay, so if it's possible, let's avoid the formal formulas. Okay, let's try to facilitate the collaboration, the communication, at least between different worlds, looking for a common language. So I have the pleasure to come with Íñigo Molina. Most probably Íñigo, you can introduce better yourself. Also, we come with Rubén Lirio. And we are waiting Javier Lopez. Everybody knows now Javier Lopez after three sessions, so we can wait, but meantime we can start. Please, Íñigo, and then Rubén, tell us a bit more about your background, who you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Belén. I think you can hear me probably without the microphone.
No, okay. There is people online.
Oh, okay,
so
okay. Okay, so thank you, Belén, for the introduction. So I'm Íñigo Molina Fernández. I am full professor at the Telecommunication School here in Malaga. I was one of the persons that came here when I was very young to start with the Telecommunication School. I have started the activity here in Malaga of photonics. Photonics is a new technology, a new important technology, still not very well known. And I'm the leader of a big research group at the University of Malaga. It's the Photonics and Radio Frequency Group, which accounts for 30 people working on there, 30 researchers. We have been many years working on basic stuff on that, so doing publications, doing patents. And after some years, we realized that, let's say, we had to grow a little bit more, go to a step further, and try to do something so that the people that we were forming, our students, our PhD students, we stay here. So we have founded 2 different companies, which are startups from the group. They are using ideas developed in the research group, and they are trying to bring to the market 2 different solutions in different fields. And they started like in 21, the first one, and 23, the second one, and they are already like 30 people working there in these companies. So we have been able to start a small ecosystem in photonics in Malaga that is involving like 60 researchers and people in the companies. So this is a little bit my background.
Thank you very much, Íñigo. Then Ruben, please, can you introduce a bit? Thank you.
So, hello, my name is Ruben Lirio. I'm working in DECRA the last 8 years. Before that, I studied in the Malaga Telecommunication School, telecommunication engineer. After that, I set up my own company, Yerbabuena Software, 20 years ago. And right now, I'm leading the cybersecurity team in DECRA. In our team, we are a global team. We are about 250 engineers working in cybersecurity from Japan to US, with a lot of laboratories in mainland China, Europe, and so on. But the headquarters, and when we handle the innovation, is here in Malaga. Regarding the project that we are working right now, so DECRA is an automotive company. Our owners are automotive. So we are studying and we are developing services in our area, the testing and certification, and how to test and certify the artificial intelligence technology embedded in the devices. First, that coming into our minds could be automotive. Cars, it's not a secret, are more connected, are more autonomous. So you need to design what is the way to test and certify this technology that right now is embedded in the devices. But the same apply to other verticals. Okay, coming to consumer, industrial, and that's it. So this is more or less what we do.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that we have now then two different use cases for us, from the lens of innovation management, because Íñigo, you comment about you create an ecosystem around photonics, so multiple stakeholders, let's say, okay, startups. So I suppose that in this process, you are facing some challenges, not in terms of technological challenges, but in terms of management. Maybe we can let a bit time everybody sit in the room. Thank you very much. Mostly because we have also people online, so welcome everybody online. Hopefully the noise in the room allow you to better understand. So we are commenting that in terms of photonics, we can, if I understood well, we have multiple parties in the decision-making process, maybe in the management of innovations. So from this lens, what are the main obstacles, challenges you face on daily activities, and from your viewpoint? Thank you.
Okay, so as I mentioned to you, the context in which I move is the one of being a university professor, which has invented some things. We have launched the companies. They are very small ones. They are still getting their first product. Still, the companies are funded by a venture capital. We still don't have a product in any of the companies. We are working to that. The first company will have the first product this year. So let's say usually management of things comes in a little bit later stage, let's say, because at the beginning you have very little things to manage. You are doing whatever you can do to move things. But still there are of course several things that I think that I can say that they are like stoppers or make difficulties for us. Okay, so let's say first thing, well, one of the things that is quite easy to start from the easy part. One of the things that are easy for us, as we are startups that come from the university, usually in management, for example, of research and development projects is not usually a problem, let's say. So we are able to ask for the projects, to manage the evolution, to give the reports, etc. It's more tricky when you come for making consortiums, etc. We are starting, of course, we're in the companies, we're using lawyers to see what we can do, but this is very tricky thing. Okay, so knowing exactly what you should commit or compromise or what not, that is difficult. I don't know if some effort can be done in terms of management and standardization in that fact, but for clear, that's a problem for us. Okay, let's say negotiation or putting the limits of which are the documents, what are we signing. that's a really difficult part. We are usually working with many people from different areas.
Yeah, maybe you mean about how to protect also the knowledge, will be the owner, the decision-making process, even the responsibility, allocate responsibilities, and
I would say yes, that everything is tricky. That for a university group which is trying to launch these companies, everything is difficult. Okay, so just starting, for example, from I don't know, secret protection. Let's say usually, of course, you have a lot of things that are not patented. You have it on your own, but you want to talk with someone to set a consortium or whatever. You have to talk with the people. You have to sign an NDA. But sadly, how does that really protect you? What should you say or what not? Okay,
yeah.
because
can you share or
you
not?
have signed the paper, but maybe you have signed the paper with Huawei, and you are a small group with 30 people. So I think that probably standardization can help. I don't know.
Yeah, and in terms of how you can, after the proof of concept, I suppose that you are at the level of proof of concept, so in a preliminary stage, but also even to identify, or anticipate obstacles in terms of define use cases, in terms of, develop potential solutions and.
Yep. Probably also in that line, we have not moved so far in the chain. I mean, we are in the, just developing the, I don't know, we are maybe in TRL 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so still there is room there. We start from TRL 3 maybe a couple of years ago. So we have maybe not moved so far. Okay, we have a lot of problems in, finding our route, the business plan, etc. But maybe, I don't know, this debate is not about that specific topic, is more on patent protection and things like that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Inigo. Then we are commenting because Javier just arrived. So we are trying to understand the innovation management approach of different verticals. So we start from Inigo, then we will continue with Ruben, and maybe we can continue with you. Everybody knows you now, I suppose, online and also in the room. So maybe we can continue with Ruben. So I think, Ruben, your case is, my initial understanding is a different approach of Inigo, because you are coming from one company, large company. You develop innovation inside the company, so more or less you have no multiple parties. You have only one company, obviously focus on multiple customers, but who is leading is only one, let's say, centralized approach. And in this sense, I would like to know what are the main obstacles you face, but also to understand better how you approach innovation. If you come with, some processes, structured processes, maybe you are using an innovation management system or something similar. So tell us a bit more. Thank you.
Okay, it's a really good question. So in a company, DECRA is a company that usually is thinking in mid-long term. So this is not usual. If you are in a listed company, you need the result now. And this is a really, really block for the innovation. But DECRA is a company that allows you to work in the mid-long term project. So this gives us some room for innovation, but you always need to keep in mind the profitability, what you are doing. So for us, innovation have a financial goal. Probably is not the main one. So in artificial intelligence, what is happening right now? So the innovation in artificial intelligence, we can see in developing new technology or make the technology more efficient or create more powerful models. This is not our business. Our business is how we can offer services to test and certify this technology. For this, you need to be aware about the technology, but also where they are implementing. So for the first problem or the first challenge that we face is to find professionals. It's really difficult to find the professionals that can understand both the technology that is embedded in the product, but also the product per se. It's not the same in a car that in a surveillance camera. The concept is different, the risks are different. The second problem that we have is the go-to-market. So Here is where we strongly believe that having a management system of the innovation for us could be an accelerator, can be more efficient. For us, it's critical the go-to-market. Imagine that every OEMs and every manufacturer are embedded artificial intelligence in the devices. Now we have a regulation that is telling you, hey, you have to test and certify this, and these are the standards to test it. So the first company that put a services on the market have a clear advantage. So for us, it's not only financial, but be efficient. So for that reason, in DECRA, we have a kind of framework, probably is not well established, but we have a methodology or at least a procedure when we start listening to customers, because at the end, as I said before, one of our final goal is the profitability of the services. So listen to the customer, then find the right partners. Sometimes the partner is a customer, but sometimes, in many cases, we are collaborating with Javier, with the University of Malaga, to develop proof of concept. Why? Because we don't have all the resources that we need to create this proof of concept, and the knowledge and the talent that the university here in Malaga, we have a really good university, can give us this step. And then we need to make this real. And sometimes is where many innovation projects fail or have success. We can say that probably we need to try 10 times to have one success, but this is what we have. And more or less the methodology is to create the idea, listen to the customer, see the regulations, create the services, sometimes alone, as you say before, because we are one company, so we are centralized, sometimes with the support of the partners, university or customer, and finally, make this real. And this is probably the more challenging part.
Okay. So fantastic. I hope that my colleagues from Innovation Management Technical Committee, you are hearing very well what are the problems. You can offer some solution, or at least, anticipate how we can help them. Okay, so then let's continue with Javier. Javier, you explained us yesterday about a lot about Innovation Office of Malaga. But today we would like also to ask you about cybersecurity. That is a concrete verticals with my initial understanding. I'm not really an expert, but the initial understanding is one of the main problems about cybersecurity is the need of collaboration between sometimes small teams developing solutions. So the governance of this consortium, this alliance, it is a decentralized or not, so I'm not sure. So I would like to know more about, okay, what do you think the approach on innovation, to manage innovation in the area of cybersecurity, and the main obstacles you have to face normally in your daily activity to make most with the resources available. Thank you.
So thank you. Firstly, I must apologize for arriving late today, but to this panel, but I'm coming from another panel with the rector, so I had no chance to come to arrive before. I think that one of the key issues of the cybersecurity is that from a research point of view, from the research group point of view, is that our interaction is most of the time not only with companies, but also with the public administration. So when talking with companies, it is not, we are not always lucky to find companies like DECRA, in the case of Ruben, where they clearly understand the difference between research and innovation. This is not the common case. When talking with the companies, they say, yes, we are researching, and they are not doing research. They are doing innovation, but they don't know they are doing innovation. But in any case, one, that these terms have been clarified with them. The main issue when working with the companies in terms of innovation is that they are very reluctant to share information with the research group, even for doing a joint work, okay? Because everything that says on cybersecurity is like kind of confidential or secret, and sometimes we even had the experience of being contracted by a company to analyze and to supervise the security of a system, but they don't want to provide information about the system. So we thought, okay, but how should we analyze if you don't give us the details of how it's working internally? Say, well, because it's very secret, it's confidential, but you can sign the paper where you say that everything is safe. and secure. Obviously, we didn't do it, but with the time, they were more trusting us more and more, and at the end, they provided most of the detail of the system so that we could really assess the security. So this is something that afterwards happened also many times, that the companies want to interact, but they feel that they are risking the information that they are giving to the research group, because many times in the work, it's not only the professors who are involved, the ones who signed the contract with them, but they're also students. And normally they don't trust very much what the student may do with information that they get, because most of the students will not stay at the university at the end of the day. So this is in the interaction with the company. But in interaction, because cybersecurity has strong presence in the public administration, especially in everything related to cyber defense and the Ministry of Defenses and Ministries of Defense and the similar. There, the problem is even harder, because firstly, you have to work with them and to commit to offer a kind of guarantees that sometimes is difficult to pursue for a research group. Okay, the kind of guarantees that they request from research groups are the same that they're requesting from a company. And sometimes for the company, the kind of confidential agreements that they have to sign with the Ministry of Defense, many companies are used to do this kind of confidential agreements, but for a public university, also from the public administration, achieving those requisites that they are requirements that they are requesting is really hard. It's really tough. Okay. Also, I have found, not specifically in my research group, but in many research groups that have been reluctant to work in cybersecurity with let's say in the military sector, or whatever application or service is in the military sector, because they say, oh, wait, I'm a researcher, I don't want to interact with the military. Okay. I think that this behavior is quite extended among the research groups in cybersecurity, and I think that the way how they have solved this problem instantly is to invent the dual-use technologies. Okay, the term is, okay, you are developing technologies that are used by the militaries, but also are useful for society. And this is something, yes. So this concept is something that many of researchers working on cybersecurity say, okay, so I'm doing this work because the society will be benefited, but you are really doing it for the military sector. Okay? So many people believe that the dual-use technologies is a way of being more efficient in what you are doing. But I know that behind that, there is the situation where the military sector said, we are losing a lot of power from the research groups who don't want to work with us. Let's trick the situation saying that this is dual-use technologies. Okay, and now that at European level, there are a number of calls on dual-use technologies, but I mean, when you read between the lines, it's clearly that this is going to be developments for the military sector or the defense sector. Absolutely. Or cyber defense. Okay, even I can talk about myself. Even in my research group, there are people who say, okay, there is no problem to work with the military sector, and others that say, no way. No way. Yeah. So this has always been a problem. But the dual-use technologies concept is facilitating this thing. Still, working with the public administration in that terms is tough. It's difficult because of the requirements that they fix. Also, that it is not clear for them what innovation is or is not. They are more interested in the final results than on how to call the process or how to develop the process. Okay, they are just when we are working with the companies know that we are working or we are going to produce prototypes, and the companies by themselves will be able maybe later to produce a service or a product based on the prototype that we develop at the lab. Working with the public administration, they don't have the tools to make this a prototype a final product. So they are asking us, they're requesting us to make a final product directly. And sometimes for the university, this is quite difficult. It's quite difficult. Yes.
Okay. Fantastic, because I see here that we have a lot of, a lot of information for the second part of the panels. We are commenting about the lack of sometimes common language. We don't agree on what is innovation or not. In which part we said it is research, it is innovation, it is a product. We have no clear how to partners in some cases because how to sing agreements, how to clarify what you can share or not, who will be the owner. So I think that you have there a lot of also how you can measure contributions, even to sing this agreement is quite important. Working with the public administration, I suppose that also be able to demonstrate quality in the products and certifications maybe is quite critical. Not maybe it's not the same in case you are working for pilots in that case. I understand that also you highlight on maybe you only achieve at the pilot stage, but even at this stage, there is a lot of key elements that maybe you miss. And in terms of DECRA, we are commenting also the possibility to see an innovation management system to repeat some processes, looking for operational efficiency, not only profitable solutions. That of course is a must. Nobody will discuss, especially you are a private company. But of course, even to measure and to be able to evaluate other option. You mentioned about the low rate of successful innovation. Spoiler, you are on overage. Okay, don't worry. There is several research, but at the end there is a survey. I think that is recurrent output that said most of the executive of large companies, about 86% of them, highlight that innovation is critical for any company. However, more than 76 of them are, upset with the outputs of innovation activities. So we have a big area of improvement. For sure, we will not solve everything, so let's manage expectation. But I am aware that my colleagues can provide you some guidance to solve the key problems. So say that. Inigo, what areas, I suppose that you know more or less about standards. So standard is, guidance standard, certification standard, also technical standards. So there is several type of standard. We are here on management, okay? However, even management standard, we need to consider also a technical standard. What is, in your view, the big area or the best area to create value you can benefit for standardization? What areas in your daily activities, in addition to the technical standard that can provide you some reference? But in terms of management, what could you think could be valuable for you?
Okay, thank you. Yes, okay. So again, I'm a professor with startups, so my point of view is quite very different from DECRA one. What I find, we are finding a lot of problems with patent policies, so patent management. Okay, so first of all, again, at the university we usually do papers. We very rarely we do patents. My group is probably an exception. We have maybe like 15 patents, and we have been invested by 3 different companies. We have licensed patents to German companies, 3 Spanish companies. But still, even me, that I am the leader of the group, I was the one pushing for patents. I didn't have so clear what are they for and how can you really, or what they can really protect you from. I was reading just now a newspaper notice, a very recent one. That is a company, a Spanish company, is TOT, Power Control. This is from a company of mine, is a telecommunication engineer. They were doing solutions for power management of cellular mobiles. And they discovered that the people in Vodafone, Huawei, etc., have copied their ideas. They have patented that. So they have been fighting for that. But it has taken like maybe 10 years, I don't know. And it was the news now. They have won it in one court in Delaware, in the United States, $100 million. Okay, when I read this, because I know the guy, in fact, I was saying, okay, he won it, but I didn't really know that this could happen, that a small guy could win Apple in a United States court with a patent. Okay, yeah. So, but I think that we don't really know the difficulties that are behind that. We don't really know if there are any way of managing all these kind of things. Okay, which are important. For example, the startups, they are always, when some capital venture invest on your company, they are going to ask you which is the state of the art, which are the knowledge in I just has a special name, estado de la ciencia, I think it's in Spanish.
State of the art.
It's not the state of the art, it's something, they call it a little bit different. Anyway, it's the same thing, okay. So, they are asking you if you have patents and where to have your patents. No? Usually university does not pay the patents, just pay the Spanish one and the PCT, but never go to an international patenting process, which is very expensive. So again, it is difficult to know where to extend the patent because it's costly. You don't know if you are going to be able to defend it. They are copying it in China, and what are you going to do? So if any of these things and these issues could be somehow standardized, we will be glad.
Okay, thank you very much, Inigo. You will hear now something in this regard. You will have now opportunity, Soren, to comment a bit more. Ruben, from your viewpoint, what is the areas of, for standardization to create value in your daily activities?
In a company, I think it's important harmonization and have the capacity to measure. So anything, at least in the very beginning of the process, have methodologies, good practice, guidelines, standard frameworks to measure the different ideas in the very moment. What are in the beginning? What are the main KPIs that we need to measure? What is the procedure that you need to follow to present the proposal even before to be accepted? Everything in this area will be will have a really good impact in our company, but also the traceability. Okay, we present eight ideas, no projects. We decide to go with 2 ideas. Right now they are projects, R&D project or development project. What is the life cycle of this project in innovation? Because it's not the same that you are executing a project for a customer. So the life cycle there is super clear. Okay, but in the innovation, there are a lot of gray areas. In the private company, we try to compare with what we know and what we feel comfortable. So no, we need to handle this in the same way that we handle the customer project, but this is not true. And if you try to do it, probably you will fail. Okay, so this methodology there is super important. And finally, even if the project that we're talking about, this 10-20% of success of the project that you are starting, even if a project is not go to market for any reason, I don't care, probably it's because we are too late. The idea is super good, but we are late and our competitors are there, or too early. Probably we have the service ready. This happened to us. We developed a methodology working with the ETSI. With ETSI, we developed a standard together with the industry for mobile devices. It's the first cybersecurity standard to measure the security of the mobile device. And we put on the market 3 years ago. Nobody wanted it. This year, with the CRA and the new ecosystem, everybody wanted. So we put the project on hold. But if you see in this moment, 3 years ago, what is the project was success or not? If you only see the financial KPIs, was a totally disaster. You invest a lot of money, a lot of resources, and you get nothing. Right now, we are starting to see. So what are the criteria? What are the KPI? beyond to the financial. Everybody understands financial. It's easy. It's plus it's really easy to calculate. But what are other KPIs that we need to take into account? So just to summarize, criteria to present a proposal before accepted, then what should be the life cycle of the innovation projects, and finally, how we can, what should be the criteria to say is a project is a success or a fail beyond to the financials.
Thank you very much. We will have some solutions, sure. And then, Javier, what is in your viewpoint? You are more connected with the standards, standardization bodies. So I think that also you can maybe identify new areas you think can provide value in your daily activities.
Well, actually, I would say that the cybersecurity area is much implied in the standards. We have at the international level of ISO, we have the subcommittee 27, specifically for everything related to information security and privacy. But I must say that this is something that I think the company has learned very well, that whatever they produce as a product, as a service, they have to keep an eye always on what the standards say. But unluckily, this is not the tendency at the university level and the level of research groups. There are many research groups in Spain and Europe, that is the ones I know more, that do not pay attention at all to the standards. They just try to develop their own solutions or in cooperation with companies, but standardization is like if it is not existing. Probably this is also because many times the companies, especially in the area of cybersecurity, they try to produce their own products without showing what are the internals of the product, in order for not to reveal what is the solution, what is the method, what is the algorithm that they are using. Okay? This is what we call security by obscurity. The security by obscurity always has been a delicate issue, because from the scientific community, we understand that everything needs to be public. If it's secure, it must be secure by itself, but not because it's obscure or because it's kept into secret, okay? But many companies do not do it that way. They believe that the best way to make the business is to keep secret what they're developing, and when they come to us to develop some things, they say, okay, you are signing here a confidential agreement, but the internals will not be revealed. So, because they are following their own method, there is no need for standardization. Okay, because they follow their own solution, there is no need for standardization. And many research groups have followed that tendency and say, okay, so standardization is not that useful, or that doesn't need to be so much followed. Actually, when I have been part of the different international meetings of Subcommittee 27, I was very much surprised about the lack of universities in those meetings. There were plenty of companies, very big companies, but the number of universities represented is really very, very low. So this is, I think this is a problem that need to be solved somehow, but I don't know very well what the solution is, because I understand that the standardization bodies are pressing to make the universities understand about the relevance of the standardization process, but I'm not sure if they are not pushing enough, or if in the universities we are too much deaf, we don't hear. Okay, but there is a big gap at the research level with the low involvement of groups into the standardization activities. Actually, there was a colleague here yesterday from the University of Seville. I saw him before, and now he's okay. You may remember that yesterday when I showed the involvement of the University of Malaga with UNE, there was one slide where I was showing the university. There was like a kind of working group of universities within UNE. The number of universities there, I think, is like 17. In Spain, we have around 90, counting public plus private. So, but we are only 17 there. And the colleague from the University of Seville asked me why the University of Seville is not there. I said, I don't know. I know why University of Malaga is there, but I don't know why University of Seville is not there. Okay, I don't know. University of Seville is the biggest here in Andalusia. So there is this kind of behavior from universities not paying enough attention. But who must put the solution there? Okay, those of us who are working. Oh, there is a colleague from here. Those of us who are working in industrialization within the universities, we try to push, but we don't have also the tools to do it. Yeah. I try to convince the people from my research group, but how to convince people from other research groups? Okay, from my role of as a head of the Office on the Innovation Technology, I try to pursue this with the research group I talk with. But the arguments probably are not enough.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know if we have a problem or not, because they say the speaker is not working, so I don't know.
Oh, you are, okay.
Muted.
Okay, muted. I don't know, did you hear what Javier comment? Okay, thank you. So it is maybe a problem that we cannot solve from a technical committee on innovation management, the lack of, the lack of value or the lack of understanding of the value proposition of a standard as a whole. But I aware that maybe innovation offices of a university can play a key role, a pivotal role, to change the situation, because it is at the end also a problem of communication. Maybe a standardization body has an area of improvement in that case, UNE, to communicate what standard are now in the market, or what is the value we can create or not, and of course from the audience viewpoint. So it is a huge point. Not sure if we can solve from innovation management technical committee, but I fully agree with you. Sometimes we have a gap in the market on communication and understand the value proposition. And also something that is important, the window of opportunity, because sometimes we have a standard, nobody cares. We work a lot on a standard that for any reason we didn't anticipate quite clear the window of opportunity. And one day there is a huge need of this standard, but that obsolete because was defined in one concrete context that is not exactly the same context. So a big area of discussion also in this point. Maybe you can add something because the people online didn't understand you. And after this, what we can do is continue the second part of the panel to hear some solutions, looking for that at the end we can have a dialogue to discuss after everybody explained the
Let me add
point.
something. I think from my experience, at least in subcommittee 27, I think that it's necessary that standardization bodies create policies to reach the universities. Okay. If there are no policies to reach the universities, for us, even if we are working at the innovation offices within the university, we can be just tractors, okay, to the university, but from policies that and solutions that comes from outside. We cannot generate by ourselves this solution and this and try to convince the people. If we don't show them why externally to the university this is considered important, we will not be able to transmit the message.
Okay.
Okay, so as innovation office at the university, we can transmit the message, but we cannot create the message by ourselves, because probably they will say, well, show me the proofs.
Yeah.
Why it is important what you're saying. Okay, so but if we show them that there are policies from the installation bodies towards the university to make the involvement of universities stronger, then they will have something to observe.
Yeah, for sure. Then I invite you. You are new members on our National Technical Committee 166, which is about research, technological development and innovation management. As a chair of this technical committee, as a new member, maybe we can work together and help UNE to create this policy and maybe provide this proof of value for more universities. So good, food for thought. Fantastic. So then we will change because the space is limited. So maybe we can keep there near to the table, okay? And after my colleagues introduce and provide some solution, please keep in mind that we need at least some minutes to discuss and have a discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I decided to do it listening at people. Is there a way to share screen? Andrew? Yes. Andrew, do you have any USB stick with you? Yes. No, it's good. We get one.
Let me see if your bag is good enough. We have a USB stick.
No, it's Andrew has one. Use memory. No, it is good. Sims Andrew's one.
Let's she prove that.
Who's the fastest?
She has a good bag.
Does anyone has an USB?
I'll
I could borrow. Let's switch. Okay. Some logistic things, because listening to everyone, we thought it would be nice to share a few slides, just not so much, but add some visual on what we're going to talk about. Turn on the mic, right? Okay. Done, right? I guess it's done. Good. Sorry for that little logistic stuff. So yeah, very happy to be here. Thanks for the hosting. Thanks for the week. I was about to say week because it's been so intense that it sounds like we've been here for a week, but it was only 2 days. Wow, intense one. We didn't expect to work so much in such a sunny place, but this is, the ambience of this tech park is that you have everything, you have the sun, you have the weather, you have nice people, but you're also hardworking. So yeah, I'm here with Soren, we're a convener of Working Group 3, and Andrew, convener of Working Group 1. I have the huge, an honor to work with them within the ISO TC279. And we're gonna try to answer to some of your elements, or at least develop, maybe I'll give you a little bit of understanding on what we're doing and see if hopefully we can match together. A little bit of history before my colleagues will go into very precise details about so many things. A little bit of history. Look at what innovation means and used to mean over the last decades. Before 2000, it was really a huge confusion between innovation and R&D. But in the end, I mean, R&D is just a process. It's a process that participates to innovation. And then comes the wonderful idea of serendipity and networking. So we created so many organizations, especially all around Europe, right? Where we wanted people to meet, hoping that innovation would pop up from the croissant. But that doesn't really work because, well, it's important, but it's just a mindset. And then we came, okay, but that's not enough. Then maybe innovation just should come from startups. So let's forget the companies because they're not clue about how to innovate. Innovation should come from startups. So we thought that as well. I mean, so many people thought, but it's just an actor among so many others. And then we made so the large company answer and say, hey, we don't have startups, but we can create labs. So we have labs, so many open labs, fab labs, living labs. But labs are just an organizational structure. It can help, but it doesn't make the full thing. So now we found the thing is now innovation is AI and technology. So that's back. And actually it's a cycle because this is quite close from what we thought before 2000. Like innovation has to be R&D and technology oriented. But technology is just an opportunity area. It's a place where you can find innovation, but not the whole. So what we're trying to do now within what we do in this committee is trying to get all those fashions together, take the best thing and say, hey, we are here talking about a system. And yes, we need processes, mindset, actors, organizational structure, opportunity area, and so many other things. So that's actually the system approach. And with the system approach, it's also a way to capture all the goals that we had. You talked about competitiveness, maintaining and some business activities and so on. That's true. But we also talk so much about resilience. Companies have to be strong enough to survive in such a dynamic context. We talk about digital transformation. Yeah, it's an objective. They have to be more digital. They have to integrate new technology. They have also to meet the SDGs. What's the common point there? Innovation management. It's about transformation. All of this requires transformation within the organization. So what we're trying to achieve here is just to professionalize innovation management within the organizations so they could be more resilient, more competitive, achieve digital transformation, integrate new technology, and meet the SDGs, and so many other things. And so we have here three very important definitions coming from the handbook related to the innovation management system. We make a difference between the innovation, which is the outcome, innovation management, which is the process to achieve this outcome, and the innovation management system. The system here and everything we do is about building, facilitating the building of the system in the organization. The system is about developing activities that will help the company to innovate more and better, to innovate regularly, to innovate in a diverse way. That's our aim. And I guess in the end, that's also the aim of the innovation ecosystem in here, is trying to ensure that all actors, as a written outcome of the system, we will have more innovation. So you need to provide support on innovation management, but also ensure to build capabilities within the organizations. Probably one of the difference between what we do in the innovation management system and what happens in the innovation ecosystems is that maybe all actors do not share or do not have to implement everything because they can also share some of the elements. That's open for the discussion also. And okay, that one needs to be on screen because there's so much value and so much work in this committee that we have so many documents right now. So I'm just going to give the names one by one, not one by one, but by group. We started by working on the terminology. What is innovation? What is creativity? What is networking? What is R&D? Ensuring that we have a common understanding globally, because this TC, this technical committee, gather hundreds of experts coming from 78 countries today. So truly, it was a need to develop this common language. And also now it's useful for other users as well. Then we have the question about, that was one of the first documents also, the innovation management assessment, trying to define and to understand how to measure a couple of things. That was the first initiative. It's not a standard, it's a technical report. So the idea was to, gather something, be able to work more easily. Well, I'm not going to go into the technical details, but making a standard is hard. So doing a technical report was easier to draft. And then comes the question of the point for Andrew, innovation management system. And we now have two standards with the same title, isn't it? Well, close to be.
Thanks.
A word on this?
I'll come to it afterwards.
Okay, so innovation management, and you see this red stuff there. This is because it's the first and only requirement standard in the family. Then comes the working group 3. Well, be careful. It's not because there is more documents that it's more work. They both work a lot. But yeah, competency framework is being developed. Sorry, missed that one. I wanted to go to working group 3, so convened by Andrew, by Sorin here. Partnerships, IP, strategic intelligence, managing opportunities and ID, innovation, operation, measurement. That's a lot.
And there's going to be more.
And it's going to be more, and they are here. What we worked on being here was actually working on the two on the right side, innovation ecosystem management, innovation portfolio management.
Yeah.
Hot topics.
Yeah, great topics. Very important for our colleagues in the PTA.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can on details about those ones. And yeah, the last one, yeah, in working group 5 here, I wanted to show that there is this one as well, competency framework for innovation management. Unfortunately, this working group could not join for this session, but that's also a very important topic, I guess, for universities and for so many actors, but including universities. A lot of great insight into that. So this is the list of documents we're working on. Please note that there is only one which is a requirement standard. So all the others are definitely guidelines and only guidelines aiming to share knowledge. I'm about to finish here, and we're going to talk about impacts. What is the impact, or what are the expected impacts on those different, of those 56,000 series documents? And I'm going to ask you guys to elaborate a bit on this. We can define the impact at several levels. For individual, like personally, what happens for anyone? At the company level, or we would say in the standardization, we say organizations level, because companies are kind of organizations and so on. And then the ecosystem level, which is the third level. So I have some keywords there. If you want to elaborate on that, on what is for you guys the importance of 56,000 series, maybe globally at first, and then we'll come back to some of the specific documents. Sorry.
It's very simple. Because basically management is finding solutions to challenges created by change. And the solution should be effective, efficient, ethical, and timely. In order to get to the solution, you have to make the right decision, and that requires evidence-based understanding of what the context is. And then you have to implement the solution and deploy it. Okay, so what we have been doing is providing methodology and recipes. This is what management standards are about. They are basically the best world recipes for undertaking certain management actions. So we are doing in working group 3, how to partner with another company in order to achieve better your success, how to manage your intellectual property in the innovation process, how to manage your ideas, how to measure the activities, your innovation activities, in order to make sure that you are doing the right stuff and that you are progressing in the right way and at the right time. And now we are looking at how to go at a higher level, at the ecosystem level, because that's not a very formal organization, but nevertheless, it's a living organism that needs to manage itself for the better of its participants. So that's about it. We need to talk about some other things, about what we need to do next. Because one of the problems I have seen in our discussions here is, like in any academic environment, the emphasis is on the research and the ideas, but that is a myth that innovation is about ideas. Innovation is about hard work to transform ideas into market realities, into society realities. And to do that, you do research, you hire some people, you pay them, and they get you research. The research represents the knowledge on the basis of which you can decide which opportunities to pursue, not all of them, how to pursue them, and then implement the solution. And even when we implement the solution, we do not achieve the value, we achieve the potential for value. In order to achieve the value, you need to deploy that solution either in the market to the customers and such, or in the organization to enhance the organization and so on. Now, let me ask you a question. How much emphasis do you put in university on deployment? Most startups die not because they cannot make the technology or the product, they die because they do not know how to go into the market with that stuff. And unfortunately, universities all over the world, they do not teach much about marketing and sales. And there are two different aspects. So you are not helping your own students and your own creation in how to be really successful with innovation as defined by Johan in terms of creating or redistributed new value. That's enough for now.
So much passion into this, right? This is another characteristic of people working in this committee, and we have a lot in the rooms here, is that everybody's so passionate.
Okay, and the work that I do is looking at the innovation management system. And we take some of the themes that Soren is looking at in Working Group 3, and we bring them into a system, and we look at the organization within the context of a system. And the standards that we're working on, they're developed using a methodology at ISO that is applied across about 80 or so standards that are in the collection. And they start off with a common set of requirements and guidance that are set for general management. And they are common across all of the standards in the collection. So it means that any organization that might be adopting, for example, the 27001 on cybersecurity, or 42001 on the environment, or 9001 that everyone knows for quality. It means that the innovation management system can effectively be integrated because there is a common set of management principles that are applied at a management system level. And then what we do is then we layer on that our discipline-specific elements. And what I'll do a bit later is to go into some of the details of that. And I hope that there will be some of those discipline-specific elements that will resonate with the issues that you have raised during the first part of the panel discussion. I was furiously taking notes and looking at where there might be correlations with the discipline-specific elements that we have within the management system standards. So as I say, we have two standards that we're working on. We initially worked on guidance for the innovation management system, and that was developed or drafted at a time when we were unsure whether we would be able to have a requirement standard on innovation, on the innovation management system. And then once that neared publication in 2019, we then realized that we were going to be able to have the mandate to be able to develop a requirement standard, which published at the end of 2024. And we're now going into a revision of the guidance standard because, you know, as we've gone along, there are certain things that have changed over the course of the journey that we've taken, and we need to make sure that our standards are well aligned with each other, so that when we're delivering them to the market, that there isn't confusion. The final point I'd like to make before going back to Johan is that there is a difference, I believe quite strongly, with our particular management system standard, is that it is more flexible and less bureaucratic than many of the other ISO standards. So in being so, it is intended to be more accessible for organizations who are wanting to innovate and redistribute value to create a value-driven system for innovation.
Thank you, Andrew. This is recorded. I'm happy that the other committee will see that we do have something practical and agile, and they have something too closed. Yeah. I will face the complaints now. No, yeah, this is something that we hear sometimes. Is like, you know, when it comes to innovation, bringing together innovation and standardization is maybe not that obvious for so many people. And we heard that, you know, it's about also iterating, learning, testing, and so on. How can you integrate that in processes? That's for you.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
How can you integrate agility or iteration things when you draft processes?
Well, the management system standard is not just about processes. It's about, as I mentioned, you know, there is the general management principles that are laid out, and there are all of the different elements that are interrelated with each other. The main process that we have within the standard is in the operational process, which is to, as we've got
It's on the screen
here, which is effectively providing the life cycle between transforming an idea into a solution that is deployed on the market. So creating concepts and validating the concepts, developing solutions, and then deploying the solutions in the marketplace. And the intent behind that is to be creating value throughout the process.
Yeah, linking with what we heard right before, I guess, you know, here the objective is to create value. And among the definitions we worked on, we define value as a like financial or non-financial. Yeah, it might be learning, it might be strategic advantage, it might be environmental gain. And this is, you know, putting here that the aim is to create value and not to create only cash, or maybe not even no cash in certain circumstances, is an important element. I guess another important element linked with what you said here is that the thing you cannot see much, but the gray arrows with this iteration in every direction here in the process, and also the fact that validate concept is the center. It's the center of the full system on these images. It's like, this is what makes innovation specific, ensuring that we work into, and knowing that we work into an uncertainty area, then we need validation, we need testing.
May I come back to that? Just talking about the operational process and thinking about the issues that were raised by the case study of photonics, and thinking about, you know, this is founded on R&D type, stage gate type methodologies, yeah. But if you have a look at it, you can see that what we've done is we brought in more dynamism than that. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. We've made it more dynamic, yeah. So you've got the traditional R&D type life cycle where you are going from a concept and developing it as a solution to the marketplace, but things can happen along the way. And the way that the requirements and the guidance is laid out is to be able to adapt and to be able to come to the problem at any stage of the process. So, for example, if a solution is being developed in a market where there's high levels of regulation, and regulation moves so that you have to go back to the drawing board, or you have to pivot, or you have to move into another area, that the standard provides guidelines and requirements that if you're going for certification, to look at the problem at that point in time and to provide some guidance as to how to work with that. And the whole point is, as you're going through the process, that you're developing value through the knowledge that is being created by the products and services that are being brought to the marketplace, right? But what makes it an innovation management system, which is perhaps different from some other types of system, for example, the quality management system, is that it's more opportunistic. It's more looking for the opportunities. It's looking outside of the organization as well as inside the organization for those ideas and evaluating those ideas as they're being developed.
Thank you, Andrew. Sarin, before we go to details about the usefulness of these standards for innovation ecosystems and maybe have a focus on this specific document, would you say a word about the measurement that is usually also an important element and yeah, raise a lot of questions within organizations?
Yes, Robin mentioned that as one of the problems that you are facing. And we wrote a standard on innovation operation measurements, which apply to any activity that you are doing in your organization in order to make sure that you have all that is necessary to undertake the operation, to make sure that you are progressing well along that operation, and to make sure that you achieved what you are intending to achieve. We decided to make it very simple. It's only about 10 or 15 pages because it's a guidance. No company is alike. No two companies should use the same metrics. They should use the measurements that are important, meaningful for themselves. And what we did in the standard, we explained how they should think about what's important for that operation, what's important for the organization, and how to decide what needs to be measured and how to measure it in the best way. And then we put 40 other pages of examples of such measurements. So it's a very easy document to read and to understand, to learn how to measure. And the same thing goes about the ecosystem. Ecosystem is an organization. What does it try to achieve? What does it need in order to achieve what it wants? And how does it progress afterwards? Okay.
Yeah, if I may,
Please,
Soren, you
anytime.
raised some interesting points that were being discussed about information disclosure and how to get around that issue. Now, something which I feel quite strongly about the standards is that what they are doing is they are creating a common language, and they're also creating a language that people can identify with, that's generic, that is understood by all actors and organizations or stakeholders that are involved in the process. But it allows plenty of scope for organizations to then add their own additional layers of intellectual property on top of that. So by doing that, if there are two organizations that are talking to each other that are both adopting the standard, they have the same fundamental language that they're speaking at a base level and the same understanding that they're developing at a base level, but it leaves plenty of scope for them to develop their intellectual property on top of that, which can go some way to get around the problems of everything being kept secret. It puts in some facility to be able to reach those partnership agreements, to be able to collaborate more effectively on projects.
And they have to do it in the process of innovation.
Yes.
So much
Not at
patience.
the end, but right from the beginning.
Absolutely. It needs to be done from the outset so that you're starting from the same page. And then as other actors and other stakeholders, other partners are getting involved, then you're building up that knowledge bank over the course of time and the mutual understanding.
And if you look at the dates there, I mean, developing a standards takes about 4 years. It's really long. Because we work with the consensus approach, meaning that there is no question of majority. It's the question of all agree on something. And that takes time and, finding the right words. It also explains why sometimes some sentences may be surprising at the first reading, because, just remember that it has been written and everybody in the room, maybe, 50% coming from 50 different countries had to be happy with the sentence in the end. So, adding a comma, adding a word and so on, it's a real challenge, but we did it. And when we say that it's about establishing a common language in the organization, I mean, we had to do that by ourselves as well. So that's why we started with the terminology, because in the group, we do have IP experts. Here's one. We also have, and we also have financial experts. We also have like design thinking lovers. We also have experts in developing labs. We have academics, we have professionals, we have consultants, and all together we had to do this as well. So it's not an easy task. It's okay, it's a challenge, but when we make it, then we know, and that's the beauty of ISO work, is that when it's done, we know where it's from. It doesn't come from, the office A33 in this big tower in Brussels or whatever. No, it comes from hundreds of people working together over 4 years, trying to find the sentence that fits to everyone. So that's make it then usable worldwide, hopefully. But yeah, I guess we achieved that now. A word before we move to the ecosystem. I mean, again, I'd like to come back to, you talked about measurement, the importance of that. And I guess the discussion around measurement also linked to the point, well, invited people to consider building a topic about portfolio management, because measurement is maybe not just one thing, it's just all about balancing things, right?
Exactly. So we started a new standard on innovation portfolio management because managing the portfolio of investments in innovation is absolutely essential for the good of the organization. And that is not a linear aspect. You have to do it, not only plan it at the beginning, but you have to measure it all the time to understand in the context of changes, what's most important now, what could be postponed for later, what maybe doesn't go anywhere and we should kill it because the sooner you kill it, the better it is for everybody. So portfolio management is absolutely essential, is a critical operation of innovation management. And there are, again, in the standard that we created, ISO 56008, there is information about how to measure a portfolio, how to balance it according to the criteria that the organization has, number one, and according to the latest changes in the context, internal and external, of the organization. And that's valid for ecosystems as well.
It's kind of, it's going off on a very different topic, but there was one of the points that I noted while we were hearing the discussions in the first half, which I feel is quite relevant for, might resonate with the organizations. And that is the question of culture. Within the innovation management system standard, we do, particularly in 56002, we do pay attention to guidelines for creating an innovative culture within the organization, which I feel might address some of the issues that there could be within some of the organizations for getting involved, for example, with innovation activities. And that kind of circles into we did have innovation vision during the initial guidance, which has kind of become innovation intent. And the whole kind of purpose of the innovation management system is to install a culture within the organization where there is intent to innovate.
Hey, here I am. I'd like to come back to those keywords here: professionalization, visibility, effectiveness, efficiency. How those standards, from your perspective, do we have to finish with the question in 12 minutes, or do we have an additional time?
Initially, we should finish on 12 minutes, but I think that is a very important discussion, so we can continue a bit more. So let's agree in consortium between both panels. You will finish in 12 minutes, and then we will open maybe a quarter, some minutes for interact, because for sure, I suppose that Javier want to mention something, and maybe Íñigo.
Okay, so let's go fast to come to a conclusion here. I'd like to, you guys to keep in mind those words there: visibility, effectiveness, efficiency, professionalization, and now focus on the ecosystem level. How do 56,000 series globally, what value can it provide to ecosystem development? Of course, and then maybe with a focus on the dedicated document that is being developed, but it will be published just in 2 to 3 years. So from now, why should innovation ecosystem managers or pilots or orchestrator, whatever the word is used, that's a debate currently in here, should they pay attention to those documents from your perspectives? Andrew, maybe first?
Yes. Well, for me, I've always maintained that the innovation ecosystem is an innovation management system, but is not being drafted as a management system standard. So for me, what is really important, when I come to here and I look at Malaga and I look at the tech park and so on, what I see an innovation management system that is working very effectively. So I'm in very close discussions with the project leader for the ecosystem standard to ensure that the drafting that's developed is well aligned and well coordinated with the management system standards, so that the two can kind of interface with each other very easily and effectively.
Thank you, Johan. Let me remind people that it is people who innovate, and therefore culture is the secret sauce of any innovation.
Yeah.
And innovation is much more a matter of culture than technology, because you have to go back to all the way to the value. So if you look at the beautiful chart that Johan put there, you look at the individual level, the individual is more or less in full control of what he or she wants to do, how they do it, and so on. Then you go to the company level, and there is control there, but it's much more difficult because you have to deal with people and make sure that we accommodate everybody. Everybody is working on similar things, and there is not too much conflict. And then you go to the ecosystem level. Ecosystem being an organization of organizations. The level of control is much more diffuse. The ecosystem may be a national ecosystem, a local ecosystem in Malaga, maybe an international ecosystem. How the hell do you manage that? And that's a big question for ourselves, which we dared to undertake. And you'll have to wait another 1.5 years, 2 years, unless you become part of the team developing the standard to understand how we are trying to come to the conclusion about what is an ecosystem, how we can, innovation ecosystem, how we can manage, how it can be governed, how do we measure what it's doing, and how can they activate the innovation? Because everybody here in this PTA innovates a lot. But the question is, how do you innovate the PTA itself? And who is in charge of the innovation of the PTA? The university is an ecosystem in its own right. The Innovation Technology Office has a very specific meaning, but it's not, in my opinion, in charge of the innovation of the university as an ecosystem. So there has to be thinking about how do we manage these organizations of organizations, which an ecosystem is. So have patience and work with us, and we'll find the answers.
Thank you. Well, I would just allow myself to give an additional maybe view on this. I also think that because when among all the visits we had during the week, we saw so many people sharing about what they have, like in terms of outcomes, in terms of technology available. And I was imagining, what happens when those two people discuss together? Like if they have different technologies, then when you're part of a group, if you develop two completely different technologies and you meet together, what do you talk about? Are you going to talk so much about each of your technologies to do something together? Yeah, that's something. And maybe you will link them together and be able to produce something new. But what if those people could have a common framework and talk about how they do define their innovation strategy, how they do manage their human resources for innovation, how do they develop like monitoring activities? So focusing more at the practice level rather than at the outcome and project level. This is maybe something that the ecosystem could reinforce a little bit and work on as well, and where our standards could be used there as a foundation for this discussion, just to again build a common language and have shared view on this. I would be very happy to finish 6 minutes early, and so like we can conclude here. I'd like to thank you, Sorry, and Andrew, for the session today, of course, but for all the work you're doing within this technical committee. I mean, conveners, project leaders, Alan, you're in the room, and Annika is not there because she is actually running a specific session, drafting the standards with other experts, all experts here. Thanks a lot, and thanks again for your invitation, and thank you, Belen, for organizing this, because we are hosted here, and it's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Johan, Andrew, and Soren, but please, remain seated, because now is the moment to have a dialogue, okay? Did we reply your question, your needs? What is your feeling about? And please, it's the time to continue. Go ahead.
I think that one issue that was mentioned by Soren regarding what is the effort that is made by the universities in general for creating startups and spin-offs and that. I think that there's a major problem, at least at Spanish universities, is there is a confusion between innovation and entrepreneurship. It tends to be thought that innovation is just creating a spin-off and startups. And that's entrepreneurship, but
Yeah.
it's just a small part. I think innovation is just taking the risky ideas of the students or professors to the companies, not necessarily creating new ones. Okay, and probably creating new companies will take longer to take the idea into the market. It's easier if we can establish channels with the companies so that we directly go to the companies with the ideas and try to bring these ideas into product or services of the companies. Of course, there is also a space for entrepreneurship, for the creation of spin-offs and startups. And probably most of the universities in Spain have all these mechanisms on the table. For example, we have here a vice president for entrepreneurship, okay, and most of the universities have. But if you take into account how many universities in Spain have a vice chancellor or vice president for innovation, there are very few. Okay, because normally innovation is considered like part of entrepreneurship. I think this is the big mistake. And while this situation is the same and there are no changes, for the university, we will have a difficult time to bring the innovation, real innovation to the companies.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You can reply, Soren, if you have something you agree. Okay, we have
Of course,
consensus.
yeah,
Fantastic.
Let's say yes.
Unfortunately, Javier is right. So what can I say?
Oh, that's true. And thank you. You've been recorded, and we will use that to and share with so many universities all around the world now.
Thank you very much. Next.
Okay, I have one comment and probably some thought to share with you. The first comment is DECRA standards are in our DNA. Okay, we are testing and certify things according standards. So we are developing a standard. So we suffer what you say that from the idea to have something in real 4 years. So sometimes coming to my mind, probably because I'm company mindset, so I need results now. Okay, so do we need all these standards? Makes sense to spend more time in how we say the thing that what we are saying. So this is a general comment, a general reflection, and how the artificial intelligence can improve us to write the thing in the political way and save time. It's possible to implement some artificial intelligence mechanisms to create the standard faster. For sure, the intention, the knowledge is impossible to replace so far, but the way that we write in the standard, probably artificial intelligence can support us. This is a general comment, general reflection. Any thought is more than welcome. My question for companies. So sometimes when we think in a standard, we're a little bit scared. That means time, implementation of 90,000 or 27,000. Everybody is well known, and you have to put this standard in your company. And you, first I need budget, I need resources. So right now you are telling me that if I need innovation, I need another standard. I need budget, I need resources. Is the mindset. So sometimes my point is some guidelines, more light. You say a couple of things that I totally agree. So is you say, hey guys, this is really easy to read it, fitting, and you take it what you need. This is, you can customize the standard as you need. So sometimes this kind of communication, this kind of marketing is what the company needs to empower the people that need to take the decision to put in place in the company. So it's probably more, it's not a question, it's a comment, it's a reflection, but super happy to listen what you think.
I'd like to, if that's okay, to address that point from the management system standard point of view. I think that my view is that it depends on what the intent is of the organization. If the intent of the organization is just to do something new, and that's it, just as a one-off, then it's not necessarily the standard for that organization. On the other hand, if the intent of the organization is to become an innovative organization and for it to become part of the DNA and part of the culture, and to make sure that there's all of the appropriate infrastructure in place, that it plans for it, that it's got the necessary resources in place, it puts in place the right process, operational processes, then it's really a way of being able to do that and to be able to have a robust framework in place that will be resilient over time. Yeah. And to avoid a scenario whereby you have a great idea and so on, you work on it in one corner, and then 2 years later, you have another one that pops up over here and you work on it over there. And, it provides the coordinated approach, and it's different from the innovation that's associated with quality management, because innovation for the quality management system is really part of continual improvement. It's doing something ever better and continually better. And it comes from the internal policies of the organization and is channeled towards the core competencies of the organization, rather than being alert to what's going on outside the organization and seeing how it fits into the overall strategy of the organization. So I hope that.
If I may, back to your point on the time to draft standards. And yeah, of course, there is a lot to do in terms of innovation in the standardization process, but that's a long journey, because most of the participants and the functioning of ISO is not definitely an innovative company now, but we are trying from the ground to push for it. About the importance of what it is and how it works. This is why when this committee has been set up, it was set up with the rationale to develop guidance standards, meaning that there was not possible to go for a certification in any case, because the idea was to, deploy favor and let people take what they wanted to with trying to avoid any pressure they could suffer on. And after a couple is like 8 years, we came to the point that we had good content. We had this 56,002 deployed, published in 2019. And we found that first we were mature enough to consider certification purpose. And then, so we had, kind of a consensus about, yes, there are elements that we all agree that are really important. And the other argument was that guidance is good, but it doesn't attract light so much. It's good to encourage, but in a way, putting a little bit of pressure on the organization is also an ability, provides something and an opportunity to make top management move. So that's what we see also. And the impact now that we have the requirement standard is that we see a lot of companies saying that they want to be certifiable, but maybe not certified. And that's interesting. It's not just about being certified. It's considering taking the value from here, but not maybe suffering the certification process. And that's an additional step. Let's see if then the certification goes. And the final point about the certification bodies themselves, because you're one of them. When we're explaining them, there is a certification, there is a requirement standard for the innovation management system. You should take a look at this. Their first answer, and I called many of them because we need them. They are new in the value, in the value system to go for innovation. Now they're entering into it. Their answer is, okay, what is the market size? I don't know. Welcome to the uncertainty world, because that's an innovation itself. And then they're like, okay, call us when the market will be major. So you also have a lot to move into your organization. Let's keep on discussing.
I think that maybe, Soren, you can make a final comment before give the floor to Inigo, and we can.
Am I allowed to say a few words?
Few words.
Okay, a few words. First of all, innovation cannot be standardized, but the process of managing innovation can be standardized, but not in a rigid way. That's why I like the word recipe. A management standard is a recipe for doing something right. But think about recipes and 5 chefs, you give the same recipe to 5 chefs, and if they are good chefs, each one is going to give you something different, something better for certain people, okay? Why do we certify? We certify because we like to put a diploma on the wall? No. You certify because you want to get respect and be trusted by the partners that you are dealing with, and especially by the investors. And investors could be internal, the executives group, could be financial investors, could be government investors, and so on. Why should they trust you that you know what to do without that money. You need to prove to them that you know how to use that money in a beneficial way. And that's why having a certified standard of innovation management should be helpful. And to answer Johan's question, the world is your market.
Yeah,
Everybody needs money. Every good investor should ask their claimants for money, show me that you know what to do with the money. Don't just promise me the world, show me.
So what is the word market? And we're going to change the word.
Yeah, and that,
Okay.
and certainly that a message that was put across very strongly at the time that we were launching 56001 was, we are not looking to standardize innovation, and that is a misconception that is totally misunderstood by the market. We are looking to provide certification for a framework in which operation can flourish. Yeah.
Thank you. Then I think that maybe you can comment something. They reply you.
And Belen, don't forget Rick, please, because he wanted to ask questions.
The speakers, as in any roundtable, okay, we will give the floor the audience if we have time. Okay, so it's your responsibility, they have time.
So, okay, so I mentioned to you before, I come from the academy, just starting the spin-off. So for me, standardization is rather, a strange thing, let's say, at this moment. I was rather, let's say, skeptical about what I was going to learn today. It's useful, and I must say that I'm surprised. So after seeing your comments, I will say I would like to read some of the documents you have plotted there. So partnership type of procedures, let's say, or IP management. For me, that's key point. I'm just getting crazy with that in my usual business, let's say, I'm trying to help my companies to do that. For me, it has no sense, of course, to do it, to certify the companies or whatever. Okay, so it's more to know, to have the procedures, to see what some, let's say, intelligent people have thought about that, how you can organize that. And definitely I am quite interested in learning a little bit more, on this. So for me, it's been very positive. Okay. Just another question, because I think one of probably the key points of this kind of things is measurement of, what you get. And that's probably the more tricky thing. Okay, because it's like in quantum mechanics, the measurement changes the system. So always, I see it at the university, for example, where you're trying to measure complex things, as for example, research productivity. You start to put some measurement guidance there, and then the people just got there and say, okay, I'm going to count the number of papers you do, etc. Okay, that's really dangerous. Okay, so measurement is key point in everything, and you must be very careful on exactly what you propose and how you do that, because that is changing the system and it's putting a lot of distortion.
You are absolutely right, and one of the recommendations that we give is you have to change the measurement from time to time because people play games with the measurements.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay. So
And we,
I
had this
think-
conversation yesterday at the university, comparing that, for researcher, when the only indicator is about papers, then they do not partner with companies. But if you add, that was the strategy here is to add like the amount of money they can attract as well, then they have to think about also ways to make it, and working with companies in real life is a way to make it. And that changed the complete dynamic within the university. So yeah.
Okay, so I think that is an interesting topic, a large topics. Okay, so maybe take the advantage that we are here. We can plan maybe a webinar in the next time, okay, to continue the discussion and go in detail on some key questions, okay, and it is the idea of ecosystem to collaborate in the future, so it could be good. So I would like now to give the floor to a couple of audience, so ladies first, sorry, and then Rick, okay, then please.
Listening to the three of you, I'm glad that some of these things are discoveries. I mean, I myself have been in this business for years and I made some discoveries. So I hope you take some of those back and, start implementing them, and we're here to help you. Now, Javier, let me just take a couple of you. Javier, for example, okay, you mentioned about the development of a patent or a new idea, develop a patent and then have it passed on to a company. I challenge you to one key word, which is co-creation, okay? Where instead of developing it in the university by yourselves, develop it with the other companies. So that co-creation aspect becomes the way that it eventually doesn't even need to be passed on because it is part of the other company, okay? And, obviously you're going to get you work out the co-creation such that you get the benefits as well, okay? Now,
that's why the name of the office.
Yeah.
That's why the name of the office is the University of Malaga Office for Technological Innovation and Cooperation.
Cooperation. I prefer, rather than cooperate, I prefer co-creation, but okay. Right. Anyway, that's good. That's good. The other thing is and this goes back to you, okay, also is an idea that becomes a patent is not an innovation. It's not an innovation until it becomes commercialized, okay? If it never, I mean, there's thousands of patents out there, but the ones that really get implemented, those are the innovations, okay? And then, Ruben, for you, the one I had was a couple of them, okay? But one of them is that the certification, and this, I guess the three of you feel like certification is not needed and so forth. And I tend to agree, okay? But if you're in a company where your customer is asking whether or not you are an innovative company that has sustainable innovations that I want to work with your company because you are that way, the best way is to get certified. It's, to some degree, it's value added to you, okay? Not just to be able to sell more, but also because then it makes you more available to others to say, oh, damn, I want to work with them.
Comment?
Agree. So
Agree.
this is what we make money, testing and certifying things. So I cannot be more agree than what you say. So, but sometimes even if, come on, this is how I make money. I think we need to be more flexible because sometimes what I feel that to bring the real value to the companies, right now we are talking about management system, but I can give you something of example in product testing. Okay, probably we need to be more agile. So probably we are testing and certifying like we did in the 2000s. We are in 2025. How much we change the procedure, how much we change the way that we need to be accredited for ourselves or certify and testing. So probably artificial intelligence will be one of the things, probably automations. I don't know. So probably if we not innovate in the way that we do the thing that we do, we are not a good example. And we are the first, so I'm not complaining to anyone. So it's a reflection.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I would like to ask you, all of you who have been here in Malaga for the last 3 days, how can you help us? How can you help us innovation ecosystems to explain where we are? And what we do as a technology park for us, I mean, it's easier. We can measure the number of companies, we measure the staff devoted to R&D activities, the number of employees, but it's not just the technology park, it's the innovation ecosystem. For me, sometimes it's difficult when I go, for companies, I'm responsible for attracting new companies to the park. You say, why should I go to Malaga? And Malaga TechPark, I say, no, you're not coming to Malaga TechPark, you're coming to Malaga. innovation ecosystem. For us, it's irrelevant that you are not in the park. We visited today Google, for example, and some of you asked me, why are we visiting Google if Google is not in the park? It's completely irrelevant because we are an ecosystem and we aim to be an ecosystem, but that is really difficult to explain. One question. Second question, how can we improve our management? How can you, because we are talking about management of innovation ecosystem. How can we improve our management? In our case, it's been completely proof and error. Okay, but now things are a bit more sophisticated, okay? AI, etc., and we have a critical mass, okay? This is not the same as managing 8 companies and, 32 years ago. We have new customers, the startups, spin-offs and digital people, digital talent. How can we be innovative? And how can we have some ideas, what inspirational ideas we would like to have for you?
You already are innovative. So don't debate that issue. You are very innovative in your own right.
Okay,
the issue is how can you
manage
innovation of the ecosystem better? And that's a different story. And talk to Belen, and Belen will organize the right events and the right way to provide you the training.
Why do you think we are innovative? I mean, you come here and you see things and you feel it. I always say, please come and visit us, okay? I insisted, Belen, come and visit us, because when you come here, you feel it,
for me,
the intangible. Please help us to define the intangible, which are very, very sometimes more relevant than the tangible.
Can we, Andrew, maybe first?
Yeah, what I see going around the different organizations is the value of what's coming out of the park is very evident, and the different organizations that we saw were articulating it and expressing it very clearly. And so that is what I feel is the sort of, what the proposition is. But where there could perhaps be some work done is at the moment, the way that value is expressed and it's articulated is in quite different ways. And so what I would like to think that our standards can bring is to bring that common language. Yeah. So if all of the organizations involved in the ecosystem are speaking that same language, then it helps. It should help you to be able to talk with the different organizations and to be able to further capitalize on that. That value.
Yeah, first element on the language. Then,
sorry,
I'm really going to answer.
You have only 1 minute. If you can answer in 1 minute,
absolutely. I'm going to make it.
Okay.
No, an important thing is that I'm thank you for asking how we could help you, but I would say that it should be mutual as well. And we also would like you to help us in a couple of things. Language is one thing, and it's been explained. Another thing is when you look here, what we show during what we have seen during the week is outcomes. We saw innovations, we show innovation outcomes, but we didn't show, and that is an example and gives a feeling that, yeah, of course it works because there are outcomes, but we didn't talk so much about the process. How do you share, how do you facilitate monitoring information among the different companies? How do you ensure that, they develop the right human resources? Well, we had some elements with the university, but that's another way to think how to present, how to showcase, how to develop the system is to focus on the activities. And I guess the frameworks we have can be used for you to organize because you have so many elements. Maybe some are missing. I don't know. We had no time to go into all of them, but maybe using the framework is a way to, check what's there, what could be improved, and maybe what's missing. And yeah, and on the way back, that we now have 56,012, and we definitely, because here it's working, and while participating to the standards drafting, you also have an opportunity to maybe realize what you did because you felt it and trying to process it so it will be improved.
Thank you. You can see why we need 4 years to develop a standard. 1 minute is three for us. So let me explain. Now we have a lunch, okay? 1 hour to continue the discussion. It is not finished here. It is big topic. We can continue it during the lunch. Of course, I will be more than happy to organize with Lourdes a webinar to continue the discussion. It is a starting point of the conversation and the collaboration because Lourdes, you asked about the value. So I would like to summarize a bit for all sides and then conclude this session and go to lunch. We have been discussing during these days what are the elements of the Malaga ecosystem. I would say this is not only Malaga ecosystem. I would say it's also a global ecosystem. You have international associations of science park here in Malaga ecosystem. So it is an ecosystem. It is a poor ecosystem. A very good example that can inspire us some key points. And let me explain you what are the key elements we need to understand from you, because at the end, standards are not the perfect definition of how a perfect goal should be, okay? A standard should be based on what is the state of the art. So you are a very good example for us to inspire us to identify and hopefully help others. But I would like to explain. One thing is how you can improve your activity, which is how you can provide more quality, how you can even innovate, okay? But another thing is a standard should be based on relevant use cases. So we are seeing during these days, first, what are the key elements? So we have Malaga TechPark, we have finance, we have Ricardo Valle Foundation, we have also working groups to interact between them. We have very important Malaga University and the Innovation Office. We have also a key element, which is the institutional support for Malaga. We had a fantastic reception with the mayor, understand that the culture that is basically and the purpose you have in Malaga is a common purpose, you have common language, you have a common culture, and of course you have a very intense, let's say very qualified industry located in Malaga, participating, collaborating with you. You have association of technological parts, so you can have connection with third parties outside of the ecosystem. So you have a lot of elements. For sure, you have an area for innovation. Hopefully, we will help you during the lunch and after the lunch in this webinar, okay? But I would like to summarize my colleagues. I would like everybody is in the same page because they asked me, do you really understand what is Malaga about? You see a lot of different activities, elements, but do you really understand how they are interacting? Because the first day we comment about the working groups, which is a key element, okay, for Malaga to facilitate the interaction between elements, between the different actors, let's say. So they have working groups on visibility, talent, sustainability, women leadership, to improve the collaboration within the park. So we have a lot of elements, let's say a system, let's say an ecosystem. It is a technical sometimes discussion. So I think that we see a lot. I invite all of my colleagues, if you miss something, use the time during the lunch to clarify. If not, please, let's, provide question. We can organize this additional webinar. We can provide not only for help them across cutting learning. And let me conclude to say thank you very much for share, all of this element, all of this activity, for the very, very big intense work done in the past to organize this meeting, for Lourdes, all the team, Lourdes, Felipe, Isabel, all the team that have been working during months to organize this meeting. Hopefully it will be, a starting point of collaboration. Thank you very much, Sole, for, participate, because in addition, you are excel in this point, okay? There is a lot of organization looking for value from a standard, from published standard, but the real value is to participate in the technical committee. It's when you can influence, it's when you can learn. No, you don't need to wait 4 years until all the processes are finished. You can be a leader, which is exactly to be yesterday mentioned by Ezequiel. Innovation is not about to be the best or the most qualified, is to be the first. So you have the opportunity to be the first, you have the opportunity to lead, you have national technical committees, mirror committee of ISO TC 279. Everybody's invited. Let's collaborate on research and, a lot of work to do, but congrats for the big work done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Johan. It was a good session.
Thank you. It was a good session. Good team.